It was inevitable that the subject of LGBTQ and Ghana's attempt to clamp down on it, even in the face of strong Western opposition, was going to come in discussions between Ghana's President Akufo-Addo and visiting U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris. And when it did, there was no shift in what has been the position of the United States all these years.
A great deal of work in my career has been to address human rights issues, equality issues across the board, including as it relates to the LGBT community. And I feel very strongly about the importance of supporting the freedom and supporting and fighting for equality among all people, and that all people be treated equally. I will also say that this is an issue that we consider, and I consider, to be a human rights issue, and that will not change.
Only last week, the U.S. threatened economic sanctions against Uganda for passing what it considers draconian anti-LGBTQ laws. In Ghana, there is a draft bill in Parliament seeking to criminalize severe aspects of LGBTQ with widespread support from religious bodies, but also significant opposition from civil society. President Akufo-Addo is adamant Ghana has not passed any laws yet.
The bill is going through the Parliament. It's going through the Parliament. The Attorney General has found it necessary to speak to the committee about it regarding the constitutionality or otherwise of several of its provisions, and the Parliament is dealing with it. At the end of the process, I will come in. But in the meantime, the Parliament is dealing with it. And I have no doubt that the Parliament of Ghana will show, as it's done in the past, first of all, its sensitivity to human rights issues, as well as to the feelings of our population, and will come out with a responsible response.
Proponents of the bill have been adamant that no amount of external pressure will affect their effort to get the bill passed.
If the Attorney General has any reservations, he should stop filibustering the process. He should allow the committee proceed. He should come on the floor. As Attorney General, he will be giving audience on the floor and come and debate us on the floor and stop wasting our time in the committee. You know, when he goes to Geneva to go and make promises to the West that the bill will not do things, he's not a member of Parliament. He has no power to pass law. If he wants to fight our bill, he should bring his own bill to Parliament to come and counter our own, and we'll meet him on the floor.
After multiple consultations with the Attorney General, proponents of the bill are confident they will push it through Parliament. But as the interaction with the U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris today showed, this will not be without opposition from some of Ghana's biggest traditional partners. Daniel Opoko, TV3 News, Accra.
And it looks as though this subject keeps coming back. And let's go to the phone lines now to engage the thoughts of Member of Parliament for Ningo Pram, Sam George, who is one of the sponsors of the promotion of proper human sexual rights and Ghanaian family values. Good evening, Honorable, and thank you for your time.
Good evening. How are you? And good evening to your listeners and viewers.
Right, I'm sure you followed the conversation, especially following Kamala Harris's visit to Ghana. In that chat with President Akufo-Addo, it came up again where she's saying that this is purely a human rights issue, and the president also assured that Ghana is yet or still debating it in Parliament. What are your initial reactions to these comments from both the U.S. Vice President and President Akufo-Addo?
Well, two things. I thought that President Akufo-Addo would have used this opportunity to send a clear message to the world and to the country that his fidelity to the Ghanaian people and to the Constitution of Ghana, the 1992 Constitution that he swore an oath to uphold, and would have sent a clear message that Ghana is not going to entertain any expressions of homosexuality. And then secondly, I expected that he would have shown. It was known that this would have been a topic, and I expected that he would have shown that he was on top of his brief. On the 2 points, President Akufo-Addo goofed and failed. First and foremost, on the point of knowing his brief, the president said that the bill has been substantially changed and that it's a private member's bill. And, well, the president doesn't know what he's talking about. The bill has not been substantially changed. The bill remains as tough and as rigid as it was. The focus of the bill has not changed. The objective of the bill has not changed. His Attorney General has given the bill a clean bill of health. At the last meeting that we had with the Attorney General is on record to have stated that he's happy with the position of the bill and that the bill was going to deal with discrimination in our current legal jurisprudence and expand the frontiers of our legal jurisprudence. So clearly the president needs to check his brief on the bill. When the bill is laid before the House, you realize that the focus of the bill, which has to do with voiding marriages, preventing them from adopting children or fostering children, the clamp down on platforms and media houses that are going to do promotion and advocacy or push those materials still remains in force. All expressions of it, be it lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, are all here, are all in there. So when he says the bill has been watered down, he doesn't know what he's talking about. 1. 2, when the president says that the failed to tell her point blank that Ghana is not going to listen to what she says. I mean, Mrs. Kamala Harris should be the last person to come and talk about human rights in Ghana. Barely 2 hours ago, in the country where she's vice president of the United States, a Ghana woman, a lady in her 20s, walked into a school with pits, shot and killed 3 school children and 3 adults. Those are the human rights of her country's citizens that Kamala Harris should be worried about. She's vice president of America, and on a daily basis, more people die from gun violence in the U.S. than malaria kills in Africa or in Ghana. That should be of concern to her. Kamala Harris is a woman of color. If she wasn't a senator first or wasn't the vice president of America, she most likely could have possibly been a victim, like other black Americans like George Floyd, of white police brutality because she's a woman of color. Those are the human rights issues Kamala Harris should be worried about, because those are what the people who voted for her in America are expecting for her to focus on. Right. Deal with the senseless gun killing in the U.S. of school children. Children's lives matters, black lives matters. Those are the things Kamala Harris should be thinking about. And so Ghana's president should not be finding it difficult to tell her in her face, like other African presidents have, to even presidents of America, that look, my fidelity is to the constitution of my country and not what you think. So if Kamala Harris thinks that LGBTQ issues are issues of human rights, that's her opinion. Her opinion is not worth any paper written on the paper on which is written in Ghana. Right. What matters in Ghana is the 1992 Constitution. And the president must remember, that is what he swore an oath to, not the opinion of the U.S. Vice President.
And still on this subject, we know that, for instance, just last week when Uganda passed the law, the U.S. has reacted swiftly, saying that they are going to be sanctioning or imposing some kind of economic sanctions on Uganda. On the back of this, looking at Ghana's current economic situation, that we are going back to the IMF, for instance, asking the U.S. to help us, get our economy back on track, etc. When we do finally pass this law, or with the current position that we hold, what does that mean, or how could that play out if we do finally even pass this law? Could we be handicapped in a way in dealing with the U.S.?
Again, 2 things. The U.S. they're cowards. The United States is a coward country. Why didn't they issue threats to Qatar? Why did they not stop their U.S. male team from playing in Qatar? Why did they not issue sanctions against Qatar? Are they not trading with Saudi Arabia? Is Saudi Arabia not one of their biggest traders? Is the U.S. not selling arms? The U.S. sells over almost $1 trillion of military hardware to Qatar and Bahrain. Is it not hypocrisy? In those countries, homosexuality is punished by death. So why are they coming to flex their muscles on African countries that are saddled with poor leadership that has made us a poor countries? They're cowards. Cowards are the ones who look for weaklings to fight on them. If America wants to flex its muzzle, it will flex its muzzle on Turkey. It will flex its muzzle on Russia, which has also banned homosexuality. It should flex its muzzle on Saudi Arabia and Qatar and Bahrain, who punish homosexuality by death. And then we will take America serious. But I mean, if you want to flex your muscle on weaklings, you're a coward. Nothing more, nothing less. Now, when it comes to our debt situation, why are we begging the IMF for $3 billion over 3 years? It's simply because we have a presidency and a government that has been profligate and has been reckless with its spending. The amount of debt and graft in our government, if we even dealt with 50% of it, we would not need to be going to the IMF. So President Akufo-Addo has laid his bed, he will lie in it. It is his own responsibility to clean the mess in his government and take us out of an IMF program. It is not for us to bend over our cultures and tradition because he has been reckless with his spending and live like an Arabian night when he doesn't have the resources for it. So that is neither here nor there. We won't trade our culture and tradition because we have a reckless president. No.
Right, and in conclusion, what's the latest with the bill? We know that the public hearings have gone on. Is it still at the committee stage? And what's the latest regarding it?
Last week, I was shared a draft copy of the committee's report was shared with me and my colleagues from the committee chair. We've okayed it. I believe that before Parliament rises this week on Friday, before Friday, the report of the committee will be laid in the House. And once the report of the committee is laid, it will then open room for the second reading, which is the debate stage. I don't foresee that happening between now and Friday. What will happen between now and Friday, hopefully, is to lay the report. And then when Parliament comes for its next meeting, sometime I think end of June or July, we will then begin the debates which is basically the main part that would lead to the votes on the bill.
Pleasure talking to you. Thank you for your time, Sam George.